Welcome to Hike, Heal, and Hustle, the podcast where we lace up for our health, pause for our hearing, and chase our dreams with bold intention. I'm your host, Randy Black, and today we're talking about what happens when the noise fades and you're left with your thoughts. This episode is for every woman who's ever found herself running, literally or metaphorically, toward answers she didn't even know she needed. So this episode is entitled Mile by Mile, What the Silence Taught Me at the Peachtree Road Race. This episode is about my real life experience doing the Peachtree Road Race for the first time. The Peachtree Road Race is a 10K, which is 6.2 miles within the city of Atlanta. It's on July 4th. So yes, it's very hot and it brings like 40, 50, sometimes 60,000 people. The one I did on July 4th, I believe they said was like 41,000. I don't remember. 41,000 people. It doesn't matter. I don't know those people. When you have a race that large, you can't pick up your race bib and materials, all the swag that they give you before the race. You can't do that on the day of race because it's too many people. So they designate 2 days before the race. So the race was on a Friday. That Wednesday and that Thursday were expo days. I went on Wednesday to pick up my race bib. I like to go through the expo. It's quirky. You know, they got vendors there who's trying to sell you athletic stuff. Adidas is always there. You have hospitals there. You have doctor's offices. I stopped at Northside. Excuse me. I stopped at Northside Hospital's booth. And I'm talking to one of the people that was working at the booth was running the race for the first time. And these are the nicest people at these expos. They're just so sweet. You know, they're trying to hype you up, so they got all this annoying energy. I'm looking through their stuff, and one of the women that was at the booth asked me, are you running? I was like, yeah. I am too. It's my first time. It's my first time too. She asked me, was I ready? I was like, no. When people ask me the question, are you ready? I understand what they mean. They don't understand what I mean when I say no. When I say no, I mean, I don't want to do this. And I don't. We're going to get more into that in a minute. I mean, it's going to be hot. Who wants to do that on purpose? Like, there are people, but I wasn't one of those people. But I'm doing it, right? And they asked me what some of the issues there was. And I said, well, I have a problem with porta potties. I know that I can do a 5K, which is 3.1, and not have to go. But I also take precautions. I don't eat anything. I stop drinking the night before. I'm doing a fast about 9 o'clock, which is contrary to what people tell you to hydrate. I hydrate before that. And so these people work from Northside Hospital, so they work in a medical. Well, you really should be hydrating. And I'm like, I know that, but what goes in must come out. And if I'm on the streets of Atlanta, that means porta potties. And I have a thing. I don't like porta potties. Y'all, when I tell y'all this woman said to me, I am not joking to you. One of these women had the absolute audacity to say to me, and I am not kidding you. This is the Wednesday before the race. This lady said, wear a diaper. Yeah. She told me to wear a diaper. I was like, I am not doing that. She was like, well, if you have to go, I said, then I will stop at one of them nests behind porta potties. And there is no, y'all. When I tell y'all this is normal, she was like, well, a lot of people do it. I'm not a lot of people. I cannot, the way this is making my stomach turn. The thing is, wearing an adult diaper during a race is very common. I actually heard about this some months ago on a run podcast that I listen to when I'm training, when I'm running every day, and when I'm running these races. I listen to a run podcast, and they talk to people on their podcast who are runners. They do marathons, all kinds of stuff. They talk about wearing diapers and eliminating themselves while they run because they want to PR. I have never wanted to PR that bad. Just so you know. I'm going to stop. So I'm talking to her and I said, I would never do that. And so she's concerned. She was like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I was use one of them nasty behind porta potties. And she was like, oh, okay. It was a very strange conversation. So let me tell you how I actually ended up there. In April, I did the what is that? Dogwood Festival 5K at Piedmont Park. I did that race by myself because it wasn't sponsored by Land Track Club, and I didn't ask my run partner would she do it with me. I just said, I'll do it by myself. So at the end of the race, we're in the park, and I'm about to leave. I had got my swag, had my mimosa, and there's this structure where you at the finish line. So I'm walking past the finish line, and I'm like, oh, I should take a picture. My run partner ordinarily would take the picture for me, but I was by myself. So I saw these two black women talking, laughing at near the structure where you can at the finish. And so I asked them, I said, after they started talking, I excused myself and asked them would they take a picture. And they, of course, she took the picture. She asked me, are you here alone? And I was like, yeah. I told her what I just told you guys, how I just did this one by myself. And they asked me, do I do 5Ks? I said, my vision board to do 12 5Ks this year. So I try to do, it was like once a month. Lo and behold, she has the same thing. I do 5K once a month. So we started talking, and we had been doing the same races. And we were scheduled to do the same races for the rest of the year. Not that big of a deal. A lot of people make this their goal. So they asked me about a Peachtree Road Race. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing the Peachtree Road Race. Because did you know, and I'm saying this jokingly, because not everybody who runs in Atlanta knows that the Peachtree Road Race ends in July. I was like, no, because it's in July. And they was like, so I said, it's going to be hot. And there's a lot of people, and I don't like a lot of people, and I don't like heat. And it's a 10K, and I don't like any of those three things. Those are all reasons why I don't want to do this. And these women, and this is why I love me some black women. When I tell y'all, these women were hyping me up to join them. They were like, oh, you got to, blah, 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 it's so great. And it's like, oh, and then they started telling me all the things that I just told y'all that I hate about that race. Oh my God, and there's heat advisories. They have people walk around with heat advisories. Not everybody makes it. These are the things they're telling me, well, why I should do it. And I am cracking up. And I said, those are all reasons why I don't want to do it. And I was like, no, you got to. It's a whole party. It's a whole time. You got to be there. We're going to be there. You got to be there. You can sign up. And I said, you guys are way too big of cheerleaders and activists. I said, y'all are overachievers. I need to talk to black people, black women who are less like this. I need some people more in the negative side. Y'all are way too positive. This is why I love me some black women. They're laughing. They're like, we too overachievers. I said, yeah, y'all are bad influences on me. I need people that's less positive about this. Y'all, I'm not joking. Why they called a friend of theirs who's near us, she laughing. It's like, she said that we're overachievers and we're too positive, and she needed to go with the underachievers and the less positive people about the Peachtree Road Race, so we called you. She picks the baton up. They tossed her. And she was like, girl, don't do this. It's hot. Girl, it's too far. When I tell you, I almost cried. It was so funny. Black women will give you exactly what you need. If you want somebody to be in your corner and hype you up, they will do that. If you need somebody to pull you down because you want to be negative, they will find somebody for you. And that experience made me sign up. I kid you not. I went back and I was like, I'm doing the Peachtree Road Race because this was hilarious. So that's how I ended up actually signing up, is because of black women. Now, I met, if you can say, online a couple of days ago, a black woman who has a TikTok video that she's training for her first half. And so, she's looking for some encouragement. She's talking about, so I rarely talk to people comments, but I love black women. I love interacting with black women because of what I just said. She asked the questions about running fast. She said she doesn't enjoy it. And so I replied, she said, is anybody else like that? I said, girl, I'm doing 12 a year, and I haven't enjoyed it yet. It's because I feel her. If you put yourself in a position where you come up with these goals as far as running is concerned, and you don't find any enjoyment. And I was telling her, yeah, this is coming. I'm going to finish my goals for the year. And I said, I did the Peachtree. So she's responding to me about Peachtree. She said, you just throw in like you did Peachtree like it's nothing. That's 10K. So we get to talking in the comments. Turns out we're both doing the race. That's the race, the training that she's doing is for the race that I'm actually signed up for in October. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be there. She said, oh, we got to meet. The run community, and for Black women, or I know this is how it is for all people, but it's just so much fun. You meet these kind of people. And so now I'm going to go to the race, and I'm probably going to volunteer on Sunday, because the half and the full, I believe, is on Sunday. I got to go check. But I'm going to try to meet her. Anywho, so now that you understand how I feel about races and running, let's talk about the Peachtree Road Race, okay? Day of. It was July 4th, like I said, and that's the day that a lot of people celebrate the independence of America. But that's not what I do. I've never celebrated that way, and especially in this political climate, like, no thank you. But that morning I showed up. It wasn't about America. There's a lot of people who run that race, and then they're red, white, and blue, and costumes and stuff. That was not what I was there for. I did this for me. I told you how I got here and how these Black women got me hyped up. And so I'm there. My run partner's there. There are, I don't know, 40, 50,000 people, lots of people. You know, it's hot, it's humid, it's early in the morning, but honey, it is hot. It is warm. We're gonna be going through this 10K through Atlanta's iconic street. So that part of it, I get. I brought my water. I had my playlist. Like I told you, I listen to Run Podcast. My Run Podcast, my mindset. I packed all of it. It's in my little tiny backpack. My daughters had told me once I got there that day, I didn't notice in advance, that day they had decided that they were going to meet me there. Cool. My girls are going to be at the finish line. And I decided I was going to document every mile with selfies. They're going to be funny faces. And I'm texting my girls, do every mile. I'm going to make a funny face because I wasn't enjoying this heat. And I don't generally enjoy running. So every time I see a mile marker, I would take a horrible selfie face, like I'm exhausted, hot, making a face for my girls. And I take a picture of the mile marker so they will know how far I am in the race so they can meet me. That didn't work. They didn't make it. Spoiler. So during mile one, somewhere in between the crowd, the concrete, my headphones went out. Not from the battery life. I'm assuming something got wet because my water bottle was in my backpack and it had opened, there was water in my backpack. And that's where the headphones were and all of the stuff that I bring. I know it wasn't the battery because I went to charge it and nothing. The noise was gone. There was no running podcast. No motivational playlist. Just my breath, my heartbeat, and my thoughts. I had not planned to be alone with my mind, but that's exactly what I needed. So the mental miles, the silence was a mirror. Mile by mile, my mind did what it does. It wandered. So the first 2 miles, I was thinking about my past because it went out before the mile marker one. The choices I had made as a mother, the things I wish I could do differently, and just the pressure of being a Black woman raising daughters who are grown. I started sitting with the present. The job loss looming at the end of the month, so I will lose my job August 1st. So there was questions about my stability and security. I was questioning moving abroad. I really feel this yearning to leave the U.S. I wanted to travel. Those were my plans. I had to sit with that while on this street, while trying to complete this 10K. Then I had to think about my future. What am I going to do for the rest of the year? What is that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? What does healing really look like in midlife? Do I want to run another 10K? And can I keep building something that supports me and my daughters financially and emotionally? Spoiler. I'm starting a bookkeeping business. When you're by yourself with your thoughts, you have to come up with plans. I'm a planner, as you know. So let me tell you about the mile marker lessons that I learned. By the time I crossed the finish line, I hadn't just run 6.2 miles. I had journeyed through decades of my own life, childhood, motherhood, midlife crisis that I'm going through right now. And these are my key takeaways. Silence isn't punishment, it's a portal. Every mile marker became a mirror, showing me who I've been and who I'm becoming. And that the motivation did not come from podcasts that day. It came from within. Although there was no one waiting for me at the finish line, I was proud of myself. Happy that I had completed a race through all of my doubts, fears, and reluctance. I even considered doing it again next year. I am not kidding you. But I will tell you this, what I found out was they have what they call the polar opposite, which is literally that. So we started at one point in Atlanta. If you're from the Atlanta area, or if you know of Atlanta, we start at Lenox for the Peachtree Road Race, and you end at Piedmont Park. So for the polar opposite, you start the opposite direction. So you start at Piedmont and you end at Lenox. I really don't want to end at Lenox. I would rather end at Piedmont Park. I love Piedmont Park, but that is not what this is about. I actually thought about doing the polar opposite, and of course, in true fashion, a Black woman, my run partner was like, "Okay, so we're gonna do polar opposite, right?" And I was like, "Girl, I don't even know if I want to do another 10K, but yeah, I'm gonna do that polar opposite." She knows I am, and because honey, I do things kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming. And the polar opposite is in January, whereas, of course, the Peachtree Road Race was in July. So we're going from heat to cool. Polar opposites. You get it. As I wrap this up, this race, it wasn't just a race. It was a reckoning. So, in true fashion, we're going to hike. I honored my body by showing up despite the heat, despite the doubts, despite the crowd, despite the fact that I never wanted to run a 10K. I honored my body. I didn't heal. I faced painful thoughts about courage and grace. I did. And hustle. I'm making plans, financial, emotional, spiritual, for what comes next. The bookkeeping business. And this run reminded me, even when life throws you silence and sweat, I'm still showing up for my own story. So, in closing, I want to thank you all for listening. And I invite you to reflect on your last silent moment. What did it reveal? So, have you ever had an unexpected moment of clarity during a walk or run, a hike? DM me or email me your story. I love to feature some listeners' reflections in a future episode. And I mentioned the race that's in October. I have 6 races to go. Yes, I will be running a race every month till the end of the year. Well, every month until November. I'm actually running 2 races in November to cover December because I do plan on doing some traveling in December. And I'm going to do a Vlogmas. So I'm not planning to race in December. All 12 races will be done by November. But it doesn't mean I won't do a race in December because there is a race that I am eyeing. And I just got to see a couple races, actually. I do like a theme race. So I may do one, but I'm leaving space for just in case I don't. I will finish 2025 with 12 races. So my next race is, of course, in August. And if you want to see more of my races, I post all of my races on Instagram and Facebook. I'm wondering if I'm going to move on to TikTok. Let me know if you think I should. I think I will. My children have been like, go, put it on TikTok. I am finding a run community on TikTok, so I may do that. Make sure that you like these videos, whether you're listening to it clips or on YouTube or on podcast platforms, and subscribe. Until next time, keep hiking, keep healing, and keep hustling on your own terms.